I've been in the US for a week, Washington and New York. I actually haven't been here since pre-pandemic, so it's been 6 or 7 years. So I feel like I've come with a reasonable set of fresh eyes. Very interesting, I think, to look at the US at the moment, and some things for me may be confirmed, maybe some things that are a bit different, and maybe some genuine surprises I'll talk through. In terms of what's confirmed, the process of government very much concentrated in the White House. That's not news. That's the confirmed bit, but useful to understand the process. Also confirmational. China very much part of discussions, even if maybe the topic at hand is not obviously about China. It tends to come up quite often. And very much brought up in the sense, as we've read from the US, about the US and China as strategic adversaries, and that being a real focus for many arms of policy and many different areas that the administration is working on. I've been a bit surprised by that. Also interlinked with the China story, very quickly following up, artificial intelligence and energy linked to artificial intelligence. The view is the US won't win the AI race without the energy story being really sorted out, and artificial intelligence again linked into the China story and talked about as a strategic competition, an area where the US really wants to gain supremacy. So expect all of those areas to be quite tightly linked, and for policy to continue to be quite active in all of those areas. One surprise was how little the Federal Reserve came up as a topic of discussion. I think it's quite important, and certainly when it did come up, most of the focus on will Chair Powell be removed from his post early, or will he see his full term out to May? Look, I have no particular view on that, but I would say in some ways I wonder whether it misses the point. This administration's approach to the bureaucracy has been to bring it closer, to make sure it's more aligned with the policy objectives of the administration. I think we should be surprised if the US Reserve is treated any differently. So from May, the administration will have a chance to put its stamp on the institution by appointing the next Fed chair. We should expect that chair operates differently from the Fed we've been used to over the last couple of decades. I think that Fed is partly fading from view. Also a bit surprised about the economy. I think outside the view of the US economy is quite negative, and I'm on the negative side. I think the US economy is slowing and will continue to slow for a range of reasons. One area that doesn't seem as negative as I thought is the idea that the US is somehow in a state of chaos. I think sitting outside, the impression we get from the news flow looks quite like that. I don't have that sense from inside. I have the sense that people are getting on with it. I think there are some good reasons for the US economy to slow. Tariffs are attacks through supply chains, and those tariff increases that make it through to consumers are attacks at that level as well. Population dynamics, both because natural population growth is slowing and because of the administration's approach to slowing migration, also suggest the economy will slow. But I guess the risk of a sharper slowdown after this visit, I'm less concerned about. On tariffs, also, maybe I hadn't really thought about it before, but the tariffs look permanent. Not for any reason other than because of the revenue that they're raising. $200 to $300 billion a year is probably where the current run rate currently sits. That doesn't close the US's fiscal hole. It's certainly not loose change either. So it seems to me, regardless of what happens at the midterm elections at the end of next year, regardless of what happens with the next administration in 3.5 years, it seems hard for the government of the day in the US to give up that tariff revenue. It's not clear to me that the surplus economies of Asia particularly have yet adjusted to the idea that these tariffs might not be a flash in the pan. Actually, they might be a permanent part of the architecture. Thank you.